What happened to Jam Master Jay?
That's a whole nother story. That's a whole, that case is like very personal to me. And
Okay.
I don't know if I can really discuss too much about it right now.
Why
Because
is
it's
that?
still going. I think there's maybe an active thing going on with it.
Oh, so you think that case might actually be solved?
That case may come up to be, that case, if any of the big, I say the big three, that case is close to maybe being somewhat solved. Hopefully soon, I hope.
So you think you know who killed Jam Master Jay?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned that you think that Jam Master Jay's receptionist saw the killers but refused to identify them because of death threats.
Yeah, that was always mentioned. That was definitely mentioned back then, you know. And like I said, I want to say something, but I don't want to comment too much because I don't want to ruin anything. And then
Well, are you still investigating this case?
I'm still with the NYPD. They're doing their investigation, and they may call upon me to help them.
Okay, because you're retired at this point.
I know, I am.
Okay, why did you retire?
I had 20 years in, and I was a first grade detective. I really couldn't go any higher, and you know my overtime was kind of high. So, and I was kind of disenchanted with the job at the end. You know, it should have been, but I just didn't like the fact that you know the sharing process in the NYPD sometimes is so bad. You know, there's a lot of great cops. It's just that you know I got a little, how would I say? It was time for me to go. 9/11 happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it was time for me to go then. So I didn't become disgruntled, you know?
Okay. But you did talk about the Jam Master Jay case. You had an
did.
article with the New Yorker.
Yes, I did.
And you said a couple of things. You feel that Jam Master Jay got involved in drugs to supplement his declining income.
That was mentioned, not by me, but other people about Jam Master Jay, yes.
Okay.
During the investigation, that was mentioned.
Do you believe it's true?
Somewhat. I believe it's somewhat true. I'm not going to say total that I'm 100% sure. I'm only telling you what other people have said that sort of corroborated certain things that the NYPD knows.
Okay. The person, I mean, if it's an open case, then you're saying the person who killed Jam Master Jay is still alive.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Why do you think that, I mean, Jam Master Jay got killed what year? 2002?
2002.
So 15 years later, they're still investigating this case. Why is it taking 15 years?
The problems that happen in these cases, like the Biggie and Tupac, it's witness cooperation, it's corroboration of evidence, and it's the willingness of the DA's office at that time to go forward with a prosecution of who was involved and what arrests have been made and what evidence they have to go after people and bring them to justice.
Because when Jam Master Jay got killed, there's a lot of people there.
There was people in the studio, yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's people in the studio, but nobody wanted to cooperate.
Not really. No one did. You know, they were afraid at the time, and you know, what's in it for them sometimes? Like, you have to ask these people, like, you know, what's in it for them to get involved in this? You know, they have a lot to lose to come forward. It's not like anybody's stepping up to pay or to help them, you know, to relocate if they testify or if they come forward to give them a job. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of negatives that go along with coming forward. There's some positives, but a lot of negatives too.
I mean, when you investigate hip-hop crimes, is this more often than not the case?
It's more often, all the times, that people don't want to get involved. Everything is called snitching. Snitches get stitches. You know, you heard that saying. But I think it's the term I'm using is I think people have a false sense of what telling the truth on something and what snitching is. If you go into a bank with another guy and you rob a bank and you go, hey, it was me and this guy, we did it together.
That's snitching.
All right, you're snitching. But if you see a crime and somebody gets killed, that's not really snitching. You know, what you're doing is you're saying, hey, look, this guy killed this guy for no reason. So, but people look at it differently. When it's a loved person, a loved one, or someone in their family, maybe they'll feel different, you know, if it happens to somebody that they truly care about.
Well, I assumed that people in the studio cared about Jam Master Jay. You know,
They did, but
he was a hip-hop icon.
it's a high-profile case, and with it comes a lot of other issues. You know, you're not. Even though you weren't involved in it, you're in the spotlight. You're put in the spotlight over it.
So people feel that it's a risk to step forward and say, I saw so-and-so come in with a gun and shoot this guy.
Sure, it's a risk, and then, you know, you got to get people to cooperate as well, and people are afraid too. They don't want to get involved. You know, like people say, what's in it for me? Well, if I get involved, what happens to my life?
What usually happens to people who testify? Does the police ever do anything to
Not
protect
really.
them?
I mean, they will. I mean, they definitely will do that.
I mean, do people really get put in protective custody or anything else like
Sure
that?
they do.
They get
If they have to.
relocated?
Yeah, but the feds are better at that than the state is. The feds are a lot better at
Okay,
that.
and the Jam Master Jay case is a Fed case or a state case?
Still a state case, but it could be a fed case.
It could.
Yes.
And if it becomes a Fed case, then the feds can come in and give certain protections for the...
They can do certain things. They have certain leeways to bring people to justice.
I mean, I think a lot of people want to see this case solved. I mean, I've interviewed Jam Master Jay's son.
Right.
And, I mean, whether he knows or whether he doesn't know, he didn't want to talk about anything. So the exact situation, from what you understand it, explain it to me.
I'd rather not. I'd rather,
Okay.
yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, the people that were in the room, did you ever talk to any of these people yourself?
Beforehand, but never after.
You know what it is so many years have passed by too. A lot of people have been disenchanted about saying things and they don't want to get involved and relive the past. But listen, I think if you solve this case, it'll help a lot with the community in trusting that cases like this won't go swept under the rug or won't be solved.
Would you feel that this case, out of all the cases we talked about, Biggie, Tupac, you feel the Jam Master Jay case could actually be solved?
Yes, I do.
And the person's still alive, who's the lead suspect in the case,
Yes.
and the police are actively investigating the case.
For what I know, it's still a cold case, but I'm hoping that it's still open. Last time
Right.
I knew it was.
And you're going to be cooperating in the case.
I think if the police call on me, I would have to, I'm probably going to assist them. I mean, I still deal with the police now off and on, but I'm sure I would be my duty to go and to help them as much as I could.